Hi, this is a quick video demonstrating how we can connect a Java application to the Autonomous Transactional Processing database and execute that application on a compute instance. Without further delay, let's begin. We'll begin by creating a VCN, our virtual cloud network. This is important because we need a network for our instance to connect to. When you're creating a VCN, make sure that you're also creating the related resources together. It will just be easier that way. The VCN has been created. We want to generate some keys, a public and private key, and they will be handy when we're creating our compute instance later. Since we're using a Unix system, we can use this command. I'll give it a name and a passphrase. And just to verify, yes, our public key and our private key have been created. And we want to make sure that for the private key, only the administrator can read it. A virtual machine compute instance. We want to make sure the instance name is a virtual machine because we use a bare metal machine. Oracle will allocate the whole physical server for us to use, which is not very necessary in our particular example. And over here, we want to drop our public key that we just generated into this section. I'll make sure that our VCN is connected to the cloud network that we just created. And everything else looks good. We can just create the instance. Good. And now it's still being provisioning. We can move on to the next step, which is to create an ATP database. We want to make sure that we have the selected transactional processing. Want to give an easier name to remember. The username we'll keep as admin. The password, just give a password that fits the requirement. And make sure the password is stored in somewhere secure. And now our database has been created and it's still provisioning. We'll now check our compute instance to check if it's ready yet. So it looks like it's running now, and we have the public address, so we can try to connect to the instance now. OPC is the default username. We enter the passphrase for the private key. And it looks like we're connected now. Now that all of our Oracle services have been created, we can move on to the next step, which is to prepare our Java project. So just to see some tutorials I have been referring to, we have to make sure that we install JDK 8 as well as JDBC driver beforehand. And over here, I have already created a repository with my Java application code and as well as my JDBC driver in there. We can check out the code in my text editor. I'm not going to go into too much details about how I organize everything, but basically, I have this code that will execute a series of operations on the database. I have unpacked all my JDBC zipped files into this directory called library. Essentially, I had to right-click and do add as library to make sure that my Java code will recognize those resource files. We'll dig more into the code for now. Notice over here we have the DB URL. This is where we put the URL to connect to our wallet, which we'll talk more about later. We also have the username and the password to log into the database. We have to update the database password for now. Over here, we can see all those commands to set the parameters with regarding to a number of connections that is maintained by the UCP. And once we have the connection going, this part of the code is where we put the SQL commands, query those commands into the database. So over here, we can see the table is being created, and then we have 3 employee values being inserted into the database. Over here, 1 employee is being updated with my name over here. And we have over here all the values of the database being printed, and finally, the table being dropped. Now we will talk more about the wallet. The wallet is basically a bunch of files that will allow us to connect to the Autonomous Transaction Processing database. And in our case, we will have to upload our wallet. So we will check to see if our database has been running operational or not. And it is. So we're going to go Service Console. And we will download the client credential. Now that we have a new wallet with a different name, we want to make sure that our code is still up to date. So for example, if we go to tnsnames.orl, RRA, we'll make sure that over here we're using this one for our DB URL. And over here it should be updated as well. Oh, there's a typo in the password. Now we can try to execute the application locally first just to make sure that it is working. It's taking a little bit while, but hey, so it's connected and everything's working all good, and the value has been successfully updated. So now we know that our Java application works locally. We can start our next step by connect to instance and upload our file into our compute instance. First of all, let's just upload to GitHub first. I'll give a better commit message next time. Now we're gonna connect to our instance again. And this is our compute instance. Now just to let you know, since our instance has just been newly created, it doesn't have gets, it doesn't have JDK, so we have to install those things first. Very well, and also our JDK. Very well, and now we're gonna use Git to pull clone our repository over here. However, we do have to make some changes, and the reason is the default path to our wallet is now different. Now we can try to execute it. The class path flag allows Java to know the path to where all the other resource files are located in when compiling our Java file. Yes. So now our application has successfully been executed on our virtual machine compute instance. So this is pretty much it. We have just demonstrated how we can instantiate a VCN, a compute instance, and a ATP database, as well as how to get a Java application, connect to the database, and execute the application on the compute instance. Please let me know if you have any questions. And thank you very much for checking out my presentation.